And the past couple of videos we've talked about the mystical experiences that we, maybe not all of us, but well, maybe all of us sometime experience and we're not quite sure how to explain. The last one I talked about that ancient Bermudian that was there with me right before I was getting ready to take off back to the United States. In this video, I'm going to talk about something that happened on day 6 on the way back, and maybe you've had this kind of experience where you see something or you hear something that you can't explain, so much so that you don't even have the words to describe it. And again, that happened to me on day 6 on the way back. And you got to understand also, and this is in my book, but that day, day 6, I actually lost the function of my mainsail. I have 2 sails, right? I have a jib, the foresail, and then I have this mainsail, which is really your control sail. You don't get as much speed out of that particular sail as you do the Genoa, the jib. But it's an important piece of equipment, right? Otherwise you wouldn't need it. Well, it popped off, the connections were popping off, and I had to end up dropping it, start up the engine, and so I was motor sailing from day 6 all the way into eventually Wilmington, North Carolina, which was on the morning of day number 9. So again, on day 6, I have to deal with that. The winds are epic that day. That's one of the reasons why I lost them, because I was pushing the boat a little bit too hard. It was my fault. Winds were blowing like 20 to 30, and seas were 8 up to 12 feet sometimes, and I was hauling ass and just making great time. It was fantastic. It was one of the best days sailing of my entire life. It was beautiful. But I was getting close to the Gulf Stream. And the night before, I'd gone through a couple of thunderstorms. The night before that, actually, too. In fact, during the daytime, and dealt with them. It was an interesting experience, but I was able to do it. The evening of day 6, I'm coming into the Gulf Stream, the eastern edge of it. And again, the Gulf Stream is very warm water flowing from the south to the north. And this particular day, it's already in early December, and it was cold. So anytime cold air crosses over warm water, or a cold air mass, very cold air mass meets a very warm air mass, that's what creates thunderstorms. And the thunderstorms that are created from the Gulf Stream in the wintertime can be very intense. And the wild thing is if you live on the East Coast, Outer Banks of North Carolina or Virginia Beach, Virginia, maybe you've seen them. On a winter's night and you're looking towards the horizon, you can see little tiny bolts of lightning. Those are the thunderstorms that far out at sea in the Gulf Stream. So the evening of day 6, I'm heading towards Cape Fear, North Carolina. By this time, like in the last video, I talked about how I was heading towards the Bahamas, discovered a weather situation happening via satellite phone from Captain Tom Honing back in North Carolina. So I turned my boat to northern Florida, and then over the next couple of days, they kept giving me updates on the weather information, and the fronts were shifting, and it got to the point where I was like, cool, I can make it to northern South Carolina or head towards Cape Fear, North Carolina, which is right near Wilmington. And at that point, that's in my head, that's where I was going. It's basically a heading of 312 degrees from the point I was at. So the winds start to die down to practically almost nothing. But as the sun is starting to go down, I see thunderstorms forming everywhere. And I can see them expanding. I can see lightning bolts. I can see intense rain. And I'm wondering where to go, what to do. I'm starting to get a little nervous. Thunderstorms can skirt around them and they can be intense. But I wasn't seeing really where to go. I wasn't seeing an opening because they were starting to form everywhere around me. And again, I'm heading towards 312 degrees, and just as the sun starts to go down, you know how that red hue you get in the sky? Well, you know, you see rain and it's like a black wall, and what I saw was a little bit of a light opening on the horizon, and it was pink and orange from the sun setting on the other side of it. And I was like, cool, an opening. Well, right before that, I heard something. And again, I don't do drugs. I wasn't on ayahuasca or any other mind-altering substance. That would have been stupid out there. But I heard, keep your heading 300 degrees, you will be safe on that path. Actually, I heard it a couple of days before that, and there's a story in the book about that. But I heard it again. And I see this opening, and I'm like, cool, an opening. Steer my boat, and I'm heading towards the opening. I'm always checking my compass, and I look down, and what does it say? Yep, 300 degrees. All right, cool. And so I'm heading towards this opening. And then I start to notice that all the thunderstorms around me and I are now moving all in the same direction, which is actually a good thing. Because if a thunderstorm is coming at you and you have no way to get around it, your sails are dropped, it's actually a good thing to go in the same direction as the thunderstorm. Because you're not going to get hit sideways most of the time. Chances are you're going to get hit behind you, and that would be better than getting a blast of wind. Because the side of your boat's almost like a sail. Hits it too hard, it's going to push it over. So as the thunderstorms are getting bigger, as the sun is descending and it's becoming night, and there was actually a 3/4 moon out, so I had some light, I dropped my foresail too, and I was just motor sailing at this point, ready to just run with these storms all night long, if I had to. Turns out I did. So anyway, long story short, a few hours later, after being passed over by an opening in the thunderstorm and them swirling all around me, I'm kind of in a pocket of freedom, if you will. I mean, there was thunderstorms over here and ahead of me, and I'm turning, and there's one behind me. And unfortunately, it's moving. They're all moving a little bit faster than me, which actually turned out to be a good thing. And so I turn around and look, and I just see this black wall behind me, and it's like fingers of gray clouds and black clouds coming towards me, and I'm holding on, and I see almost like a finger on either side of me of these clouds just coming beside me. And then all of a sudden I'm swallowed by this thunderstorm. I'm holding on, and I'm keeping that course of 300 degrees. And every now and then a gust of wind would hit me, and it would be just nothing. Silence. No wind. Nothing except for the sound of my engine turning, pushing me forward. And maybe you've been in a closet before, or you've been on a completely and utterly black night where there's clouds and no ambient light from a town, or there's no moon or nothing, and it's just blackness, and you can't see your hand in front of your face, you can't see anything. What I experienced in that thunderstorm was beyond that. It wasn't black, it was void. At least that's what it felt like. I mean, there were points, and I can remember this. I can remember like trying to grab something or going this way. I couldn't see the water. I couldn't see anything beyond my boat. I was wearing a headlamp with red light, you know, so it doesn't destroy your night vision as much as if you've got white light coming off of a flashlight. And from time to time, I would turn it off just to see if, but there was nothing. And up to that point, I'd spent multiple days at sea at night before, and it gets dark and it gets black, but there's always something that you can kind of focus on and see. but that night the only way I can describe it is void. It it didn't feel like there was anything. So after about 3 hours of this, and I'm sorry if I'm pausing, but I still to this day, think about that. And again, it wasn't black. There was nothing there. It's the only way I can describe it. And then all of a sudden, I see some light, and I can see the formation of clouds, and it had passed over me. It's still dark. It's still night, but you know how like maybe you've seen the beginnings of a sunrise, and it's just like a little bit of blue. It was that time of morning. It was sun was nowhere near coming up yet, but at least there was some light that was starting to appear. Well, ahead of me, there's some other things that happened that night too, and I'm not going to go into them here, but ahead of me, the most important thing was this. There were 3 lights. Two white lights and then a green light below one of the white lights. And I'm thinking, okay, there's a ship ahead of me or a boat or whatever. I need to steer clear of this thing. So I turned my boat, and then the lights moved to where I was going. And I'm looking at my compass, and I know I turned, and I'm like, and they're getting closer. Now, I don't want to hit anything. At this point, I'm 150 miles out or more, something like that. I heard music off to the side of me. It sounded like a party, and it was almost like there was an island on the other side of some clouds, but there wasn't. And so, and you're probably thinking right now, okay, Frucci, you were hallucinating. You've been up all night long. Yeah, you can say that if you want to. Whatever. I was not hallucinating, and I was not on any kind of drugs. That was real. The lights that were in front of me were real. And you're thinking, okay, well, yeah, it's a ship. So the sun's coming up, right? And the lights are getting closer to me. And no matter where I turn, I would turn and then the lights would move. It wasn't like we were turning and moving at the same time. I would turn and then they would move. I would turn and then they would move. An hour later, the sun's up enough that I could see that there was nothing creating those lights. All it was were 2 lights of white and 1 light of green, and nothing behind them. And I tried sailing around them, and every time I would maneuver, they would still go in front of me. So I started talking to them. Yep, I was like, "What the hell are you? What is this? You're not making any sense." Nothing. Of course they didn't speak back to me. At least not audibly. But they were there. And no matter where I went, they were always in front of me. And by this time, I'm heading in the opposite direction I want to go. But I want to see what's around. I want to see those lights, and I'm trying to go around them, and I can't. But there's nothing there. It's now clear. It's partly cloudy. The sun is up. If there was something creating those lights, I would have seen them. And so finally I just said, screw it. I'm going home. And then the green light started blinking. So I turned my boat and started heading. So now you're thinking, again, probably you're either crazy or whatever. All I know is, and what I learned from that is, there are some things, again, that cannot be explained. And I tried to attach meaning to that at the time and couldn't. I was tired. I wanted to eat something. I wanted to go to sleep because I'd been up all night before with those thunderstorms. But in retrospect, when I got back and I thought about it, what does green mean? It means go. When I said I'm going home and that light started blinking, I see that as a sign. Just like last time, talked about how people might condemn you for seeing signs or talking about signs or whatever. That's their deal, man. And if they want to do that, that's cool. I'm not going to judge anybody. By the same token, I don't want to be judged. But if you do, that's cool. You're a troll. You want to put some weird stuff down there? Go ahead. I don't care. I'm not going to delete it. It's that fun. There's a saying that's hitting me right now. And I actually included it in a couple of blog posts ago on the summary beneath the video. And that is, before you judge another, first make sure you're perfect. There's a lot of judgment in this world, man. Especially from people who are scared about understanding something. Oh, you should take ayahuasca, Frucci. You should go on a shamanic journey, Frucci. You should do this. You should do that. You need to do this. I don't know about you, but anytime anybody shoulds on me, it's stinky. I don't like it. So I try not to do it. I don't think you should do it. Okay, that was me being funny. But that's what we do. That's the solution. Is to stay away from judgment. If I experience something and I talk about it and you want to judge me, that's your deal. But look at what you're saying when you do it. It's a shadow belief that you have, perhaps. Let's all keep talking about anything that is within us, that we feel. Not from a judgmental point of view about what other people should do, or what other people should believe, or how other people should act. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is what happens to you. What do you feel with respect to you? What are you going through? Find a community of like-minded beings and have discussions with them. And if anybody tells you that you're an idiot, or if anybody tells you, oh no, you're not dealing with that right, man, you need to do this, or you need to do that, maybe ask them why. And then if they just pound you with, you need to do it this way, you need to do it that way, I'd rather talk with somebody that says, all right, cool, well, that's your perspective. Why don't you explain that? And would you mind if I give you my perspective? And then I would say, well, yeah, okay, what is it? And then have a discussion about it instead of a lecture. I mean, I keep bringing up the ayahuasca thing, and I keep bringing that up for a reason, because it's just interesting to me, based on what I went through at sea. A physical and a mental experience of epic proportions. Seeing the things that I saw, hearing the things that I heard. I haven't even talked about the Bermuda Triangle yet. I'm going to talk about that one. I'm going to talk about the Bermuda Triangle in the next video. I'm going to go into some detail about that. To me, taking a drug in order to experience something mystical isn't necessary. And it might be for you, that's cool. I'm not condemning it for you or anybody else. What I am having difficulty with, and we all feel this, is having somebody push it on me and say, oh, based on what you went through at sea, then you need to go on a shamanic journey and you need to take ayahuasca to get you there. What do you think I went through? I mean, to me, that was the ultimate shamanic journey. The messages that I got, the learning that was delivered to me from within, from the energy of the universe, is priceless. And I didn't need to alter my mind in order to connect with the thing that's already in there. I connect with this through meditation. And I've talked about that in other videos, and there's a lesson for you. Whatever form of meditation you do, brother and sister, that's cool. I just happen to do primordial sound meditation that I learned through Chopra Institute. I can dial that in. It makes perfect sense with me. And I don't need a drug to do it. I'm putting together right now an idea about an epic journey of mind, body, and soul. A physical journey that'll take somebody through a process of transformation within their mind so they can bring back peace to themselves and their people. Based on what I went through. I'm not talking about throwing somebody in a boat and taking them out to sea. That's not necessary. Everybody's process is different, and that's cool. That's what makes stories so interesting. I'm not saying anybody has to go through what I went through. I just happened to go through it because the universe decided that Frucci is effed up and he needs to go through a process of transformation, so we're tossing his ass out to sea. Deal with it. Nobody has to go through that. I don't want anybody else to go through that. I'll talk about that more later, but thank you for listening to this, and thank you for being open enough to make it through this entire video. I appreciate that. So in the next video, I'm going to talk about the Bermuda Triangle and a couple other things. Sort of a culmination of all the intense experiences. So until next time, discover what your soul wants. Tell your ego to take a hike. Peace to you. Thank you. This is video number 7, take 1. And Lucky's barking. So this is going to be a long intro. Video number 7.